Welcome to Get Wisdom Live with Carl Mollison and Brian Kelly. What if God was also a co-host? What if the historically rare ability to question God directly and get profound answers back has been rediscovered? What would God say to today's sophisticated but deeply troubled world? Get Wisdom Live is here to share those answers with you. Here is Carl Mollison and Brian Kelly. Welcome to another episode of Get Wisdom Live. I'm Brian Kelly, along with Get Wisdom founder and director, Carl Mollison. This week, Creator reveals the danger of disclosure. Now, if you're not sure what disclosure is, it's the anticipated announcement of the ET presence on Earth, where we expect world leaders and the militaries of the world, people that we respect and trust, to come on CNN, come on NBC, and announce to the world, or from the White House Oval Office, that the ETs are here and they're real, and we have to deal with them, Carl.
Yeah, this has been brewing for many, many, many years now, and we know quite a lot about it. And there is good things and bad things. And so we really are compelled to reckon with the divine insight and wisdom we've been given about this as a warning for people, because this is largely a planned deception of humanity, unfortunately. People don't want to hear that. Here we go, another conspiracy theory on top of craziness. ETs are a hot button that people are programmed to run away from, which is kind of ironic. Given what's coming, they're going to get quite a shock. But we've also been programmed to believe that ETs can be quite friendly, and most likely are, because if you get past this nuclear temptation to annihilate one another, the theory goes, right, you'll become peace-like, and you'll have learned your lessons. So an advanced extraterrestrial race would have to be benevolent. Otherwise, it would have been destroyed or destroyed itself. And what we've learned, disappointingly, is the opposite is the case.
Yeah.
Because civilizations get corrupted, and then they become more and more disconnected from the divine and become evil. So it's far more likely you're going to run into bad guys than good ones. And no one wants to hear this. I'm painfully aware of it, but we need to get to it, because this message needs to come forth, because we need to go back to the divine and ask for help with this, because our government is not going to do it.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And it's this assumption that two parties antagonistic to each other are going to destroy each other is, I think, demonstrably false. I mean, look at the United States and the Soviet Union were as big enemies as you could possibly conjure, and yet somehow we managed to navigate that. Probably with Creator's help, we managed to navigate that without destroying each other. So it's possible for two antagonistic parties to figure out a means to coexist. So this idea that there's has to be good aliens because they would have destroyed each other, I think is questionable, Carl. But we'll get started with the summary here. You ask Creator. Those following Get Wisdom know Creator has revealed the existence of an extraterrestrial alliance controlling our solar system, comprised of 3 unique species of humanoid extraterrestrials originating from different regions of the galaxy. All 3 civilizations possess homegrown, Star Trek-level spacefaring technology. All 3 are members of this alliance in sober recognition of the fact that war between them would be mutually destructive with no clear winner. That is not to say they share power in this alliance equally. One civilization stands out as the dominant member, while the other 2 find creative ways to align their interests and serve as associates of the dominant power. The dominant civilization is the Anunnaki, a race of humanoid giants mentioned in the Bible, and a ubiquitous presence in ancient history up to the time of Alexander the Great, when they collectively ended direct interaction with humans and opted instead for indirect control via human hybrid proxies that we know today as the ruling elite or cabal. The next species is the Reptilians. They arrived around the time of Atlantis. The third species is the Arcturians, the most human like race in appearance, being tall, blonde, and blue eyed, and often called Nordics. They were present at the time, and an extraterrestrial war began, resulting in the destruction of Atlantis, while the Anunnaki sat back and watched for entertainment, intervening eventually and ending the conflict, which almost destroyed humanity. This brought the warring parties to the bargaining table, and the extraterrestrial alliance between the three powers was established. Now, keep in mind, these are three antagonistic powers that don't like each other, but they have an alliance nevertheless. Can Creator reaffirm this recounting of events and what they are doing currently?
All right. And this is what I channeled from Creator of all that is. These are Creator's words. This is a fairly accurate assessment of the state of that the Earth has been visited since quite long ago, almost from the very beginning of the creation of the current modern human and its installation on the planet. You were discovered early along by the Anunnaki doing routine surveillance and patrols throughout the galaxy and have been subjugated ever since and manipulated relentlessly, both genetically and in other ways, to keep you complacent, subdued, and subjugated heavily as a source of amusement and entertainment for the extraterrestrials who lorded it over you because of their nature as a psychopathic criminal species. Their longevity has not served them well because they became corrupted early along by dark spirit beings needing their energy for survival. The extraterrestrial species you speak of, all of them have become atheists, and it has cost them dearly. Humans are on that trajectory as well, with the secular movement discouraging practice of religion. We are not proponents of human religion either, because there are ways it is corrupted and misguided. But the key problem is if you turn away from us, like through disbelief, you will begin to be cut off from our support, and that will erode your ability to appreciate and enjoy love, which comes from us. That is why the extraterrestrials are currently psychopaths and not kind and benevolent beings as they might wish you to believe. They are ruthless and savage psychopaths having a criminal mentality because of their inability to feel compassion in any respect. They hold you in contempt as a lower order species and have no compunctions about killing you. Some of these extraterrestrials will also use you as food and might torture you as a way to tenderize you to their liking prior to your dismemberment. We are being so graphic for a reason, to drive the point home that these beings are beyond the pale. They cannot be reasoned with or persuaded by human beings to show mercy or any consideration. If they pretend to do so, it is a deception only to gain your trust and compliance. You surrender your free will to them, and that deception will cost you dearly in the end. They have been manipulating humanity down through the ages in countless ways as a show of their power and strength. It is the only enjoyment they can experience in the absence of love because nothing else can be generated. Enjoyment of the arts and music will be extremely shallow and little utilized because they too are expressions of divinity and its loving nature. They have long ago lost interest in such things. Only power and control, subjugation of other beings, and enjoying acts of cruelty that reinforce their egos and give them a kind of thrill through sadistic pleasure to shore up their hollowness through self puffery and self enjoyment from the power they hold to crush others. This makes them extremely dangerous. They are also highly intelligent, cunning, and are possessed of telepathic capabilities far beyond the human level, which is rudimentary at best because it has been constrained through genetic manipulation to hobble you mentally. That has been part of their control of you down through history to keep you in the dark. They have played these games for many thousands of years now and engineered many calamities, catastrophes, corruptions, and deceptions of all kinds to build you up and then pull the rug out from underneath as a kind of cosmic joke to watch you squirm. They delight in human suffering and have set up slaveries, siphoning off parts of the human population to live a horrid existence as slaves in a dead end existence on other worlds. There is a deep karmic history of trauma from these depredations. That is a large part of why humans are walking wounded and so troubled as a species. The old traumas have never been healed and will be rumbling within you. You are in a weakened state, and that makes you quite vulnerable to further manipulation and destruction. These beings simply cannot be trusted and have you in the crosshairs because they truly control the world from behind the scenes. Keep their games going, giving you the illusion of free will and freedom of movement. But unfortunately, the divine gifts of free agency and free will you enjoy only exist within a kind of prison colony where humans are more like inhabitants of a zoo without cages, but a more natural habitat where you can seem to go about your lives freely. But all the while, you are being observed and watched and manipulated indirectly to the delight and amusement of your overseers. This is not true freedom, and things may well get worse if you cannot deal with this through divine intervention. But you must arrange that to happen, and we will be discussing this further.
Well, yeah, Creator Creator didn't pull any punches on this one, Carl. Not at all.
No mincing of words.
Yeah, there's really nothing to add. I mean, it's just so go back and re-listen to the show to get the details, people. But we're going to move on. You asked Creator. You have mentioned again and again about the growing number of reported alien encounters and the frequent sightings of unusual aerial phenomena with no conventional explanation. That it is an ongoing plan to condition us to experiencing a benign alien presence as a preparation for a coming disclosure event when the alien agenda will be brought out in the open. Is that what has been happening?
All right, Creator tells us. Unfortunately, this is indeed the case. After thousands of years of making mischief from behind the scenes to watch you struggle in bewilderment and frequent calamities, leaving you helpless and struggling, they are tiring of the burden of keeping all of this going because it requires a heavy burden of maintenance, given humans have grown to such large numbers and the plans more and more intricate and requiring much lead time and build up through a series of maneuvers, all of which become somewhat labor intensive for them. It is also growing stale because they've already done so many variations on the theme of power and control, making you dance to their tune. It is harder for them to come up with something truly novel and surprising that is not old to them. They would like to be done with you. They are tired of pushing you around, but having you bounce back, and find that inexplicable and somewhat disturbing because they have the assumption of complete authority and power over you. But yet you sometimes slip through their fingers.
Carl, I'm not hearing you.
Makes a difference.
Okay. Carl, I'm not hearing you. Carl, you there? Okay, we appear to have lost Carl. Because the show is just getting started, I'm not sure that we want to continue with this as is. Let me give it a few more seconds here and see if we can get him back. Okay, Carl has dropped. We'll see if he reconnects here. Carl, are you back? Carl, are you there? Oh, I got to turn you back on. Hold on. There we go. You there, Carl?
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, you dropped. Almost shortly after you got started
I
reading.
know. What are we doing?
Well, we need to. Why don't we pick up where we left? Why don't we start?
Okay.
Let me ask the question again. We're gonna
All right.
in an edit. We're gonna cut out everything that was lost here, and we'll just go from his point. How's that sound?
All right.
Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna ask the question again. We're gonna pick up where we left off. You asked Creator Carl. You have mentioned again and again about the growing number of reported alien encounters and the frequent sightings of unusual aerial phenomena with no conventional explanation. That is an ongoing plan to condition us to experiencing a benign alien presence as preparation for a coming disclosure event when the alien agenda will be brought out in the open. Is that, in fact, what's been happening?
All right. And this is the creator's response. Unfortunately, this is indeed the case. After thousands of years of making mischief from behind the scenes to watch you struggle in bewilderment and frequent calamities, leaving you helpless and struggling, they are tiring of the burden of keeping all of this going because it requires a heavy burden of maintenance. Given humans have grown to such large numbers and the plans more and more intricate and requiring much lead time and build up through a series of maneuvers, all of which become somewhat labor intensive for them. It is also growing stale because they have already done so many variations on the theme of power and control, making you dance to their tune. It is harder for them to come up with something truly novel and surprising that is not old to them. They would like to be done with you. They are tired of pushing you around, but having you bounce back and find that inexplicable and somewhat disturbing because they have the assumption of complete authority and power over you, but yet you sometimes slip through the fingers. They have attempted to annihilate you in the past and seen that get thwarted through some mysterious means they attribute to human consciousness. But that is truly times when the realm has intervened on your behalf at your request through prayer, largely. As atheists, they do not believe any of that makes a difference and simply think you have some mysterious inner power through your consciousness that can have an influence when you come together in common cause and do not truly understand the mechanism yourselves. They think the idea of God is superstition only and have manipulated much of humanity to believe that as well because they don't want you even going through those motions because they see some danger for them when you group together and ask as a group for relief, for rescue, for assistance. So they have fought organized religion relentlessly to constrain it, corrupt it, and diminish its power. And that has been highly successful to keep humans in the dark about all that is going on working against them through these sources of evil from the interlopers in your world bringing evil with them. If the disclosure event some have seen coming intuitively takes place, it will be a total deception from first to last. It is a Trojan horse operation to first raise an alarm that you are in danger from terrestrial beings who are controlling you in your world and wanting your destruction, but will say they are representing benevolent extraterrestrials who are sympathetic and can be trusted. They will offer to lead you, pointing out how poorly the world is being run, with everything being in such disarray, and the inability of your government and military organizations to have any influence on the extraterrestrial overseers and their manipulations. All of that is true, but they are acting as a Pied Piper to spin a spell that will draw you in out of fear for your very lives and looking to them as a savior. The only requirement being you must agree, as an act of your free will, to engage their services. That is the hook that will be set. It is the lure they are here to help that is a total fabrication. And that lie will be your undoing if you say yes to their offer, because they have looked at the future and seen that if they come out in the open and request human cooperation with them, that will consolidate their power and give them the ability to override your free will and destroy you. You must say yes to it. And they are using this deception to get your consent in advance to acknowledge their power. So, this is a very clever ruse that will play on your emotions and leaving nothing to chance. They will manipulate you all along the way with a heavy campaign of mind control to make as many vulnerable people as possible see virtue in this plan and become desperate for your leaders to say yes and cooperate, because they will be manipulated themselves to believe this is their only hope. As with acts of personal suicide, you have always had the power to destroy yourselves and end your future. This clever plan, through deceit, can disempower you sufficiently. They can bring about your destruction, and the divine realm will be unable to assist you. They think they are simply overcoming your collective consciousness and its power through an act of surrender in advance. But in actuality, if you give them your free will and rights to control your destiny, you will have lined up with darkness and not with divinity. And not even God will be able to save you, because your free will choices will always be honored through prior agreement as a part of the overall enterprise to allow your incarnation into the world as the means through which the divine can work from the physical plane to finally reckon with and overcome evil in your galaxy.
You know, we were talking at the head of the show that, there's a school of thought out there that ETs that evolved to the point of intergalactic travel would have to, by necessity, be benevolent because they would have destroyed themselves before they ever got to that point. Yet we're hearing from Creator that this narrative that is possible to, like, looks like it wants to come forward. We have to be careful about this. Contains a narrative where one alien group is evil. So right there, your whole assumption is destroyed that an advanced civilization has to be benevolent. Right? I mean, the narrative that's going to come forward is going to have a civilization that's anything but benevolent. So that should raise some question marks right there, Carl.
Well, you can think this through and apply some reason if you haven't been too heavily programmed. And this is one of the things that we're fighting here. So many have been programmed to believe all the malarkey, and we've been given it over and over and over again. And we've seen the other side of the picture at times in our media, largely via Hollywood. There's a mix of things out there. Some showing wonderful little gray loving aliens, and others showing empires that are evil and going throughout the galaxies looking to dominate and control and so on. And it's really the latter that turns out to be reality.
Yeah, unfortunately. You ask Creator, we have learned from Creator that ongoing physical management of the human population is being carried out predominantly by the Reptilians and human-like Arcturians, with much routine manipulation done via the little alien gray androids created and programmed by the Arcturians. However, the mental and emotional management of humanity is being carried out predominantly by Anunnaki psychics, both physically present in the solar system as well as back on their home planet of Nibiru. It seems any contemplated disclosure will likely involve the Arcturians and possibly the gray AI creations coming forward to reveal the reality of the Reptilians as a danger. Though it is likely the Greys will not be introduced as the robots they are, and in fact, but maybe as perhaps a fully sentient species. Perhaps even the tie between the Greys and Arcturians themselves might be kept hidden. What can Creator tell us?
All right. And we're asking this question in part because the many stories of human abductions often feature these little alien grays as the perpetrators. So they've got their hands dirty, and the Arcturians that created them also do. But those are less noticed. So we'll see what happens and how this plays out. All right, this is what Creator says about this all. We cannot tell you in advance the precise details of the story they will come up with to deceive you, but it is certain they will disguise their true origins. And most definitely, the fact that multiple ET races are all working in collaboration with one another. In truth, there are no benevolent physical extraterrestrials in the Earth plane, nor will there be any who come to your rescue. That would immediately trigger an act of war. And this you do not want to happen because you would be caught in the middle, and this would cause much human death and suffering. You would immediately be used as hostages, for one thing, with no compunction on their part, as a dark alliance to start killing you, so that any compassionate physical extraterrestrials would have to back off because it would not be possible to rescue you intact. So this is a hopeless situation. They are claiming can be somehow overcome magically by these benevolent beings, honoring free will out of respect for you, but somehow having the ability to commandeer and displace a well entrenched, hostile, multi race cohort of extraterrestrial representatives working in concert, including those who come forth as a deception offering to be your rescuers. It is a total scam to dupe you into obedience, submission, and surrender your free will to them by agreeing to cooperate. You, in effect, will all be putting your heads on the chopping block if you agree to this. We cannot put it in more stark terms. Given the long, long presence of extraterrestrials throughout your history, all three of these races of beings have taken turns manipulating you and exploiting you in countless ways for their own personal satisfaction and advantages, never once truly helping you with anything. Even some of the more advanced technology you have come to enjoy works against you because even though it allows you a powerful means to communicate with one another, it is also used to more powerfully control you and your minds from within via subliminal programming beamed at you 24 hours a day through every screen you look at: your cell phones, your tablets, your computers, and your television sets. Even the modern power infrastructure through electronics is shortening your lifespan through electromagnetic frequencies they know are deleterious to human health and survival. From the microwave frequencies used for the cell phone towers to the electrical wiring in your homes. It is all toxic in ways it is designed to bring about. This, too, is a kind of cosmic joke to let you emulate a more modern, civilized way of living, and all the while do not realize you have put your heads in a noose that is slowly choking you. We are not here to make you feel worse than you already do with the challenges of physical existence, but to warn you. There is a reason for human suffering all through the ages. It is coming from the interlopers. There is more than enough land and abundant natural resources to share and to have satisfying and enriching lives lived in harmony. you can learn to get along with one another and would do so naturally without the aliens here to manipulate you through mind control to distrust one another and grow hatreds and prejudicial thinking. They are the source of racism, ethnic strife, culture wars, and hatred of those who differ. They arrange false flag operations of all kinds to create grievances, bad blood, and get shooting wars going. They manipulate you to believe you need weapons of war for survival and then use that capability so it becomes a self fulfilling prophecy, ending in death for many. On and on the carnage goes, teaching you to be savage like they are, godless like they are, heartless like they are, and unforgiving like they are. You blame these traits and the signs exhibited through human behavior as a human failing. In actuality, these are alien characteristics that have rubbed off from them in the way they have manipulated and subjected you to mind control manipulation, to cultivate negative beliefs of all kinds. And that has taken a tremendous toll down through the ages. It may well end up destroying you. The answer is divine partnership to bring healing to bear. That's the only solution that can work. The broad outlines here are an accurate projection of this planning and how it will be orchestrated. The reptilians are a perfect bad guy to fit that role as an evil scourge. They are savage looking, savage by nature, and indeed have done much to cause human suffering again and again and again as they relish being among you in disguise and even taking part in human warfare in its leadership to cause human death and destruction. They are the extraterrestrials carrying out the widespread phenomenon of cattle mutilations. This is truly an act where they drink the blood, surgically move some organs they see as a delicacy for consumption, and then leave the corpse found in a mysterious way with wounds not typical of animal predators. This is a true calling card serving the disclosure movement by paving the way to a future revelation of the depravity of these beings. Make a good poster child for malevolent extraterrestrials among you and wreaking havoc and in need of constraint and removal. However, they present the story, there will be many examples to point to in why this is a dire circumstance and a kind of emergency. They will be able to not only sound an alarm, but ramp up fear tremendously through mind control manipulation to make people desperate for rescue and to feel very threatened and helpless in the bargain. A perfect prescription for creating chaos and disarray, civil disobedience, and a kind of cultural gridlock where people will feel so desperate they suspend normal activities, contemplating their doomsday, and they grind to a halt. Under such circumstances, governments will have to act, but in truth, will be totally helpless to do anything on a human scale with humans. Will be forced to accept the alien offer. This behind the scenes ourselves through the workings of Get Wisdom primarily, because so few people are aware of the sinister nature of disclosure, because humanity is being groomed to see extraterrestrials as basically advanced and benevolent. You have been programmed with that belief for many, many years now that any advanced civilization would have already worked through the need for war and long ago dispensed with negativity as being unproductive and self defeating. So, any civilization with super capabilities and advanced technology would much more likely be benevolent and trustworthy than hostile. That clever has worked to keep you through many, many decades now of their gradual emergence, putting on a kind of display, a show for you to play into expectations that it would be wonderful to be able to talk with an extraterrestrial and to finally have the government dispense its secrecy and come clean about what they know, that ETs are in your midst and wanting to have a peaceful meetup and a benevolent partnership to be of help for the advancement of humanity further, if this is done safely, given the warlike nature of humanity, and so on. And of course, that human negativity, as we have told you, is entirely their creation to begin with. So this is a circular exercise that is entirely deceitful and a giant manipulation to keep you running in circles, disempowered, and in a state of fear and engineered helplessness.
You know, I've heard from other people I've had discussions with, and they say, what would these advanced beings be interested in us for? We're nobodies. You know, they have technology that's a million years ahead of us. What could we possibly offer them? And my argument in response to that would be, what does a Kentucky Derby horse have to offer us, right? In other words, human beings take their games very, very seriously, spend billions of dollars on them, build massive stadiums, plan their lives around sporting events. What makes you think the aliens are any different, and that we are not prized in the same way that a racehorse is prized, that the humans prize, but for a different purpose, So they don't value us as individuals, but they value us collectively because we're the game they play, Carl.
This is very analogous to the video games that humans like. All the things with war, shooting and killing, and Grand Theft Auto, and the things that are kind of unsavory, but exciting. To kind of
Right.
get control and manipulate things and so on. Well, they do the same, but they use live beings as their playthings, and they maneuver us around little computer-generated cartoon figures. But it's real,
we're the
and
game
it's
pieces.
life and death. We're the game pieces. And the scripters, the rules are theirs, and it's savage and heartless because that is what they like. It gives them a thrill to have that power. So we're just being pushed around just because we're underlings, we're primitive to their way of thinking, and expendable. We have enough going for that it gives them some extra satisfaction that they can do it and get away with it. Because we're not just like gerbils or
right
field mice or something. We're beings.
Yeah, we
but that
present
just
a
makes it
challenge
more
to them.
dreadful and more awful that they are doing this
For us, yeah.
to sentient beings. Yes.
Yeah, exciting for them, horrible for us. I mean, that's, it's kind of like, dogfighting, or, it's horrible for the dogs, but exciting for those that are, betting on them. So that's really the analogy. Oh.
Yeah, and let me comment that this is the honoring of human free will, because we're in charge of the world, not God.
Yeah.
This is the whole start of this free will, free agency paradigm, that we would be the ones, the beings in the physical, and it was ours to deal with. We were created to solve the problem of evil because others created before us failed.
Yeah.
But this is the problem. Can physical beings retain their divinity and get through the temptations of a rise of evil? That's what's on. God fixes the experiment will have failed, because the test of us is to see, can we do it in a partnership, in the lead, taking the initiative and bring it off. That's why God doesn't come in and wipe all away. God could do that. God's short leash. And there is a desire to give us more latitude. Risk is people will abuse that. So we need to correct that. We can do it ourselves. We'll have privileges of free will again.
Nope. Lost you again, Carl.
I stopped talking,
You
sir.
back?
Are you there?
Okay. Yeah, I'm here.
I'm
Yeah,
here. Can you hear
okay.
me?
You stopped abruptly. I'm sorry. I thought you were still going. It got cut off. We'll continue. The next question. You ask Creator. You have told us so far points to the fact. All you have told us so far points to the fact that if humanity accepts the Arcturian offer, the near-term or even immediate consequence will be the dreaded war, but with the entire extraterrestrial alliance, not just reptilians. We will not be told that the real agenda is a planned human annihilation and extermination actually carried out by a planned collapse of human infrastructure and rule of law, anarchy, death by random violence, disease, starvation, and exposure. This, in fact, is already underway to soften us up. We envision cities will be destroyed not in nuclear holocaust, but methodically to maximize human panic and suffering. Buildings will just mysteriously vaporize and collapse as they did on 9/11, terrorizing the survivors and making most of them homeless and destitute and ensuring an eventual demise. What can Creator tell us?
All right, and this is Creator's answer. Unfortunately, this scenario is all too accurate in its projection of the intended sequence of events and their consequences. You are being set up to take a fall. This is entirely a manipulation from first to last, designed to end badly. They are deceiving you at every turn and setting things up to make you want their intervention and tip the balance energetically. So they will truly be holding all the power, even your naive expectation of gaining help and appreciating their presence. So you will not be working against them with your thoughts. They already know you are no match for them physically or militarily. The very idea that your military could do anything is part of the deception. They will be claiming to work with you and your military to strengthen yourselves so you can patrol the skies and space beyond your planet to maintain your sovereignty and have a safe future with their assistance to remove those dark black hat extraterrestrials who are controlling you at present. It is all a lie and subterfuge, but cleverly done to play on your vulnerabilities they know all too well. They are masterful at ginning up fear and other dark emotions like anger and hatred. They do this often to drive a wedge between groups of humans who are orchestrated to have quite divergent views, to exaggerate what might be their own innate tendencies, as with having liberal perspectives versus a more conservative way of thinking. And this they mine again and again to ramp up political differences and keep people fighting with one another. Meanwhile, there is much mind control manipulation to enforce complacency. People just turn away in disgust, perhaps, but settle for less, assuming nothing can really be done. They are so used to seeing political gridlock, weak and impotent leadership that is often misguided and off point, mostly doing the wrong things than the right ones. Your governance is cleverly manipulated to deceive you into thinking they are doing useful work when it is a kind of make believe, a make work exercise that will often have more negative consequences than positive, if only through squandering wealth on make work projects that are a kind of folly and even entirely pointless, like the environmental movement that is using your money to fight the sun when there is truly no real danger. It is all an exaggeration and a manipulation to make you fear carbon dioxide when there is actually more need to encourage better crop yields and other plant life that is quite beneficial to the biosphere and only a trivial influence on the planetary temperature. Your channel has explored dozens and dozens of subterfuges like this to misdirect science, misdirect thinking, and that level of corruption results in almost universal application of misguided government policies on a worldwide scale. None are escaping this negative influence, but it is greatest with the most powerful countries, and for good reason. Their whole agenda is maintaining power and control. They do all of their misdeeds through human beings. It is your fingerprints and not theirs. And you will end up blaming one another for the carnage when it is not truly a human idea to begin with, but simply implemented by hapless human beings manipulated to believe in a cause and then carrying out misguided and ill considered plans that backfire. This happens over and over and over, and people do not see the pattern for what it truly represents an outside manipulation. But all such schemes that fall through are blamed on human nature being faulty. It is time to wake up and see the handwriting on the wall for what it truly represents. When you are choosing to act alone without having God in your life and at your side, you will be at an extreme disadvantage compared to the much more powerful extraterrestrial races who conspire against you. That is an energetic reality, given their long, long head start in becoming advanced technologically and having subjugated you almost from the start as a promising but still more primitive seeming race. They have gained the upper hand and held it ever since. That legacy of karmic manipulation and trauma weighs heavily on you and is your heritage. It is time to throw off the chains and reclaim your power. But you must believe that your true power lies in partnering with us, not your own inner impulses to fight back, to go to war, to seek vengeance, and strike out to kill your opponents. That cannot be done effectively to any good purpose. It will only strengthen their resolve and ramp up their savagery in seeking vengeance for any sign of resistance. For this turning point, you need a divine friend at your side to even the odds.
Yeah. I mean, it looks hopeless, and without the divine, I mean, it clearly is. They got us over a barrel, and none of the plans they want to come forward with work. I mean, we already know that they've already contacted our militaries multiple decades ago and made deals already. You know, so this idea that they're going to coach us to protect ourselves is what they already lied. They already told the military that back in the 50s, Carl. It's all subterfuge here.
Yeah, and it's been building all that time very cleverly. So that was an infiltration. They created this so called secret space program to train human recruits to fly around in the spacecraft they provided and become guardians, wardens of the solar system and all of that. And Creator is telling us that whole concept is faulty because you can't have a physical confrontation
Right.
with advanced extraterrestrials, even using some of their equipment and supplies and guidance.
Yeah.
It would be a disaster. And of course, they want us gone anyway. So
Right.
they're not probably very fussy about how that gets going. But
Well,
if
we've
we
known that
trigger
they're
it,
yeah, we've known that their main goal is to have us destroy ourselves, which includes these super soldiers that have been trained into our
yes,
hidden space program. You know, because they're humans, right? Even though they're fully controlled
yeah,
and really almost be up totally beyond the pale, they're still humans. And the goal of this whole enterprise is to have humans kill humans, and they can sit back and rub their hands together and congratulate themselves for being as creative as they are. But it's horrific. Oh, U.S. Creator, at some point the carnage will have reached its peak and begun to subside. Those who have prepared for doomsday will be off in their bunkers and retreats in mountains and forests, scared and traumatized, but also grateful that they had the foresight to imagine the worst and plan for it. And just as these scattered remnants begin the job of bringing humanity back from the brink of extinction, the other shoe drops. You have told us that a heretofore hidden army of human clones, human hybrids, and human super soldiers will fan out all over the planet and begin mop up operations. It will take time, perhaps months, but eventually they will kill off enough of the survivors to ensure that humanity is truly finished on Earth as a species. Any stragglers will simply live out their lives, unable to sustain any future generations. Eventually, the last free human on the planet dies amongst the wreckage. This is a bleak story, it's a bleak scenario, but we also know, Carl, that they want to preserve, the plant life, the fauna, and even wildlife to some extent. So they just want us humans gone, and this is their plan for doing it. What can Creator tell us?
All right, Creator says, unfortunately, this dark future projection is all too likely if their plans are carried out. They have long ago created a human mercenary army program in cooperation with your government and military. It is highly secret and even unknown to most in the establishment. All are being duped to believe they are serving as protectors of the Earth against a possible extraterrestrial incursion, when in fact the Trojan horse has already arrived and is manipulating them to believe falsely they are serving their country and the world when they are actually volunteering via manipulation and are under the thumb of the extraterrestrials through heavy mind control manipulation. They have been trained to kill with impunity via heavy mind control manipulation, being made to believe all they kill are enemy combatants, and so will carry out their orders dutifully without question. They will be in the vanguard, setting the annihilation in motion. Many of the terrible things that happen around the world that are blamed on opposing military forces are actually done by this mercenary army program as training exercise, and it serves a dual benefit in corrupting human geopolitics and adding to the misery, uncertainty, and violence prone state of human society. In addition, there are many human clones that will serve as warriors and as a policing mechanism to search for and exterminate any human survivors, and will be assisted by the human extraterrestrial hybrids who will be loyal to them. This is the reason for the relentless anti gun campaigns, wanting to eliminate gun ownership by citizens. It will leave you helpless, and that is the way the extraterrestrials want it. At the same time, they are ramping up civil unrest and criminal acts by random shooters and mass killers to fan the flames of fear of having guns in the environment at all. They are working both sides of the issue to get what they want: disempowerment of humans physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So, this is a bleak picture of the forces arrayed against you and capable of carrying out an annihilation quite effectively. Once the military is destroyed at the outset, the civilian population will be sitting ducks and powerless to fight back.
Well, I mean, who would have thought that, Creator was a Second Amendment advocate? But at the same time, Creator says that fighting back is not the way we're going to save ourselves, though the Second Amendment and the ownership of firearms acts as a deterrent, but only up to the point where they might choose not to attack us at all. Once the attack is underway, then its value is gone. So at the end of the day, it's going to be partnership with Creator and healing of these perpetrators that's going to save us, and not our cache of firearms, unfortunately.
Well, to get along in the physical realm, you have to reckon with physical beings and physical being ways of thinking. So it stands to reason that you might need to be tough at times to get the bullies to leave you alone. And that's just a condition of the physical plane that's so corrupted. It might not be totally in divine alignment from that lofty perspective that You want to be tough. You want to be strong. You want to maybe have a weapon.
Yeah.
But if it keeps the bullies at bay and lets you live in comfort and peace, then it does serve a purpose to adapt and ensure your survival and to prevail so that you can live better and longer and have a chance to heal and cure the problem. So this
Yeah.
is the mode we've been in, and history has shown that so vividly. All the endless wars and the various catastrophes and the annihilations, the genocidal destruction of whole peoples.
Yeah.
It's happened again and again.
Yeah. And, the one thing that always seems to happen prior to these genocides is gun confiscation. It's the first thing Hitler did, when he got power. Stalin did the same thing. So, who was it who said, I forget the name, but, he who fails to study history is doomed to repeat it, right?
Yes.
So we see that playing out time and time again. And of course, the reason why people are not studying history, or if they're studying it, they're not taking the lessons from it, is heavy mind control, for sure.
Well, we're throwing out hard-won wisdom of the ages on a regular basis now with a kind of new think, a kind of
Yeah,
woke perspective that just wanting utopia means you can destroy everything because we'll get utopia eventually. Even if we do that, it'll be a good thing. And this is very, very disempowering because it's a huge distraction for one thing.
oh yeah,
And again, it's a refocusing of things to concentrate on the state, that the state has the power, the state rightly has control of things and that ultimate responsibility for everything. And they need to dictate how we live. And so we all live according to good principles as they see it. But
right.
that's putting a lot of trust in a governmental body that is made up of human beings and is manipulatable.
Yeah,
And
and
there's the rub.
they betray their own narrative, because on the one hand, this idea that the government's omnipotent and will solve all our problems, but on the other hand, you hear our leadership coming out and saying, "Well, we didn't create inflation; we're not able to stop it." So what is it? You can't have it both ways, right? You can't be, you know, not responsible for the problems, but yet have all the power to solve them. And yet the problems get worse as you're in control, so to speak. So it makes no sense at the end. So the bottom line is you just can't look to our human governments anywhere in the world, any government, as the solution to your problems. The only place we can possibly look is Creator, Carl. The one that created us is the only one that can save us.
Well, and we've been told this again and again. And prayer and healing are the answer because that's
Yes.
how we enlist divine support, healing, guidance, and protection. We have to request it because of our free will.
Yes.
The divine won't do anything unless we ask. So part of this problem has been one of waking people up to the reality of things. And when things are getting this intense and reaching a potential turning point that will make or break existence of a future for us in the
Yeah.
physical, it can't get more serious and more compelling to
Exactly.
say, all right, we better go back to God and figure out how to make this work.
And here's how we can do that. Can Creator share with us if empowered prayer and the Lightworker Healing Protocol are the only genuine means to save humanity?
Well, this is what Creator answered. We can tell you this is absolutely the case. You cannot do this on your own. No human level tools, approaches, strategies, and tactics can turn the tide here. They can outthink you. They can outmaneuver you. They can outfight you. They are masterful deceivers and disablers and have numerous ways to make you helpless and reduced to a state of severe suffering in the bargain. No human strategy, No realignment of military force or geopolitical alliances will be a source of useful power to make a difference. The only power that can change your opposition is the healing love of Creator, if brought to bear in time, to begin to shift the thinking of the interlopers and persuade them to withdraw. There are various ways that can be arranged if we have enough human intention to use as fuel. Because again, this must be your project as much as ours. We cannot do it unilaterally. You cannot do it alone. But together, we can make this happen. We are here for you. But you must want us to act and make that known.
And the way to do that is to learn about empowered prayer and learn about the Lightworker Healing Protocol. And the way you can do that is download our prayer information at getwisdom.com/prayer, getwisdom.com/prayer, and download the ebook on the Lightworker Healing Protocol. It will give you information about our training for the Lightworker Healing Protocol, as well as how it works, as well as how to engage practitioners that you can hire to do the protocol for you. You can also go to our website, getwisdom.com. We have a healing tab there, and you can explore the healing options available there as well. It is a big need, Carl. People need to really take stock of the world, the way it is, where we come from, where we're going, and realize that we can't solve these problems alone. This is a divine level problem to solve. That it's beyond our capacity and scope to do it on our own. We need partnership with divine.
Yes, and the one thing I would want to leave people with is the acid test. When you look at what others are saying about disclosure, are they talking about God and a role for God and what is going on here? Chances are they won't be, because they are part of the problem and they're being duped and drawn into the deception. So keep that in mind.
Yes.
The divine is here to help and wanting to help, but needs us to ask for that to happen. Those others are not bringing that into the equation at all whatsoever.
No. In fact, a lot of them are atheists. So there's that whole exploration as well.
Yeah, and
Well,
they won't be persuadable. They won't be
right.
able to be awakened for that reason. I mean, they're already being manipulated heavily to
Yes.
think the way they're thinking. So they may be a lost cause, unfortunately. So we need to reach the people who are open to the idea of the Almighty and get them going as participants in the anti-disclosure requests of the divine.
Yes.
That is the answer. It's up to us.
GetWisdom.com/LHP. That's all we have for this week's Get Wisdom Live. Thanks, Carl.
Be well.